Maybe we could speak about, just to have a little bit of fun, the Bible, specifically the Garden of Eden and the fruit of knowledge. Maybe we could bring them in today's language. Perhaps consider that then, as in now, there are actually two dimensions from which we can live our lives. The dimension of the Garden of Eden, which in today's language I suggest is creation, intelligence, and truth, in which there is no violence, no killing, no raping, no fights, no arguments. Simply creating our way through life. And the other dimension is the fruit of knowledge, which, of course, in today's language, I'm suggesting is the dimension of knowledge, thought, and belief, which is the mirror image of reality. So if we can realize that, firstly, the Bible is a mixed batch of stories, lies, truths, everything all combined in one place. Chaos, you might say. It's been as I'm doing. It's been interpreted in hundreds of different languages and changed around, and the one we have now, I guess, is the King James, the king. He's the. At any rate, if we can take a look at this and ask ourselves, in today's world, and for the last few thousand years, have we been living from the Garden of Eden, intelligence, or have we been living from the fruit of knowledge, which is truth, pardon me, that's a big slip right there, which is thought? When we live from knowledge and thought and belief, which is the fruit of knowledge, we only repeat our past. The only thing possible when you live in the dimension of the past, which is knowledge and thought and belief, is to manifest our lives from knowledge, thought, and belief, which has already happened. So the only thing we can do is repeat. And then after we repeat, what we do is repeat. And after we repeat, we repeat. If we lived our lives from the dimension I am speaking from and suggesting, the Garden of Eden, which is creation, intelligence, and truth, then we would bring forth new when we discover the flaw of our old. Meaning, when we make a mistake, we accept the mistake, say it was a mistake, our own responsibility, and we create a new way of moving forward from the mistake, or the ratification of the mistake, if you will. You see? In knowledge, and thought and belief, what we do is we have reasons. We have justifications. We justify what we did. We explain it away. In other words, we never make a mistake. We always have an excuse. When you always have an excuse, when you can explain it away, justify it, make it reasonable, then you, oh, wait a minute. Hello. Can't read that. Rowena. Welcome. When you make excuses for your mistakes, then you keep making them over and over and over. As a matter of fact, if you live from the dimension, which, by the way, we have been living from for thousands of years, the dimension of knowledge and thought and belief, the only thing that you can do is repeat the same mistakes. And here's the problem. One part of the problem. When you live from knowledge, live from thought and belief, each generation then, which it has been doing, gets a little more stupid, a little dumber, a little more, what's that word when they use bliss-filled. They're living in bliss, the state of numbness. And each generation then generates new reasons, new explanations, new justifications. In other words, we always have a new reason, a new justification, a new explanation for our mistakes, which means that we are more deeply buried in our already made mistakes. The dimension of the Garden of Eden, or creation, intelligence, and truth, as opposed to the other one we just spoke of, has the element of observation. It has the element of seeing the mistake and accepting responsibility for it. Oh, that was a mistake. My mistake. I apologize. And that in itself creates a new movement. A movement that no longer has the mistake in it, no longer has the flaw. Or if you cared to stick with the religious connotations, it no longer has the sin. So my question is this: is it possible for us to see the complete and total failure of our entire collective consciousness? Collectively, we live from an image. Individually, we live from an image. We have an image of ourselves that we project onto the world, and the other person has an image of themselves that they project to the world. Then those two images get together and they copulate, or they do whatever it is that they do. Which then, with the newborn, brings forth a new image, because they make an image of that which they give birth to. That's why we've been ever repeating our past, because every new birth that happens is forced into the collective consciousness of knowledge, thought, and belief. So it's an automatic 100%, 99.9999% possibility of failure. Now here's the one tiny little possibility for success. And that is that we fail at everything that this insane, going from war to war, killing, maiming, murdering, raping our women, that we fail at everything that this consciousness, the entire consciousness, requires. You see? So I'm suggesting that a total and complete failure at all that this world demands of us is the only true success that we can address. If we become a Bezos, whatever that fellow that has the Amazon, or Zuckerberg, or Beats or Gates, all those people who have reached the highest level in our insane society, they must then indeed be the highest level of our insanity. And here's the problem. We want to emulate them. We hold them as the shining stars. And they're holding all the money and all the power and all of the control. So if there's... this is a difficult conversation to have. If there's anything I would suggest that you consider, it is that you consider that you are a total failure at everything this consciousness requires, because it is coming from the dimension of violence. The core of this consciousness that we have been living from for thousands of years is violence. Not because necessarily the thing itself is violent, but the results are violent. When you repeat your mistakes over and over, that's violence. And all that knowledge, thought, and belief can do is repeat what is already done. What creation, intelligence, and truth does is notice first its sin. I had to throw the Bible part in there. Its flaw, its mistake. Then a new creation can manifest. And by new, I mean not having been before. And now that I have done a completely horrible job in describing this, there is really no way of describing it. I guess it's time to suggest that all of it has to do with the two dimensions, the dimension of good and the dimension of evil. The dimension of good comes from nothing, it's created. The dimension of evil comes from the invention from what is already there. another extension. It's simply an extension of what we've already done. In other words, it's a repetition. The only thing we do is put a little different twist on it. A new dress, a new shirt, a new coat, a new whatever might be physically. We completely ignore, do not see the simplicity of KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. You don't realize that when we accepted the consciousness, the world, that our parents offered us, really forced us into, we then guaranteed our own demise, our own failure, our own constant war. If you haven't noticed, if you consider maybe my words are false or I'm missing it, then take a look at your life. Do you get angry with your wife or your husband or your children or your mother or your father or the Republicans or the Democrats? Do you get angry? Do you have a bout of jealousy? Do you consider yourself to be elite? Do you say that it's them and not you? It's them, not us? Then you are living a life as an illusion. Your whole life is an illusion. So my question then is, do you care for our world to continue as it has been going for the last few thousand years? Or do you care to bring forth a new way of being, a new world, a world that has no violence, has no war, has no fight? Can you imagine a husband and wife saying, "Oh, I love you, kissy, kissy, smashy mouth, pinchy tit, all that. Get it on you." And then a few hours later, "You no good," and then they're fighting like crazy. Can you imagine that those people say they're in love? They're not in love, they're in attachment. If there's such a thing as love, then love is the manifestation of an entirely different, a new dimension. It isn't in the dimension of knowledge and thought and belief. It can't be there. It is the collective action of creation, intelligence, and truth. If you combine that in one package, then I guess you could call that love, although even then, the moment you bring in the word love, you have all these weird kind of considerations. So my message on my second time I was going to stop or disconnect this conversation, the message is, if you can, then perhaps become completely, 100% dissatisfied with your life and the manner in which it's manifesting, and the life of what you see around you, planet Earth. If you can do that, then you have created the possibility for transformation. Transformation is the death of living from knowledge, thought, and belief. And it is a quantum leap outside of time. It doesn't happen inside of time. Quantum leap into love, which is creation, intelligence, and truth. Love can have no fight, no argument, no killing, no gun, no bomb, no bullet. So perhaps consider and answer the question for yourself. Are you a trained and conditioned robot who lives your life from knowledge, from thought and belief? Or have you considered that you're not that? Or you don't care to be that at any rate? I wonder. I apologize for the terrible manner in which I have presented all of this. A perfect life is sent to each of you.